I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Gerson da Cunha, who's well known for leading Lintas for the ad agency for 10 years, but where he worked for 25 years after a brief stint at PTI Reuters. He has also spent 10 years working in UNICEF in Latin America and New York. He's actively involved with citizen groups in Mumbai and has been associated with theatre and cinema for a very long time. His poems have recently been published by HarperCollins in a collection titled So Far, and he will read to us from that collection. Angelica Freitas is here from Brazil. She is trained in journalism but is now a translator and a poet. She has read in several poetry festivals in Latin America as well as in Europe, and her work has been published in France and France, Mexico, Germany, Spain, and in the United States. And the English edition of her book, Rilka Sheikh, won the Best Translated Book Award for Poetry in 2016. Welcome to our festival. Nabina Das has two poetry collections, Blue Vessel and Into the Migrant City, a short story collection and a novel to her credit. She teaches creative writing. She has been a Commonwealth feature writer and a Charles Wallace Fellow, Lavanya Shankaran Fellow, and a Fellow at Sangam House. She has dabbled in street theatre, folk, and Hindustani music, and recently she co-edited the anthology 40 Under 40, an anthology of post-globalization poetry. Welcome. Sampurna Chattarji is a poet, novelist, and translator. Her 14 books include 5 poetry titles, 3 novels, and a short story collection about Bombay. Her latest work is a translation of Joy Goswami's selected poems, as well as a collection titled Space Gulliver Chronicles of an Alien. Are you reading from that? Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and I will let you begin. How will we start? Who's leading? Mr. Da Cunha.
I really get a little embarrassed when people refer to me as poet, and what I do is poetry. And Sampurna suggested that I say this at the start of disarming, so consider yourselves disarmed. I'll start, if I may, with a poem of Dom Morales, but for whom there would have been no HarperCollins, no Goa Literary Fest. Dom. It's what the vine absorbs, spring rain and measured sun, that matters more than wine. The bruising hail one autumn afternoon, someone singing at a distance, all remembered softly, in the purple nodding its bouquet in the green shade. Vintage is a ripening of accidents. Now the grape is pulped for cups to fill, eventually to be swilled with the mutton down. But what's left after utterance of wine still holds some cadenced sun, some sense of earth. Sit for a moment, Don. Let us speak of words you soaked up, but never turned into a roguish tale. Also, perhaps, of sorrows that in the end grew inward, bent on killing you. Where's to go? A prison has shattered and departed, a magic of untold tales, still in its silenced light. And I wrote that 2 days after hearing that he'd been diagnosed with cancer. What I will read, and I wish I knew that you were from Brazil. I remember Brazil fondly because I spent passei 6 anos vivendo isso no Brasil. but they will be about Bombay and Goa, two places I really belong to. This is Bombay. All that flees. I keep thinking of the horse I saw galloping up Pera Road last week at high traffic time. Steel hooves clanging on the astounded track, mane flying, blood oozing down a flank. Rope trailed from his neck with a story of its own. Traffic parted raggedly for the hurtling form, heading from the racecourse end towards Kemp's Corner and the Hughes Road traffic. Did no whisper warn him of the telephone and sanitation people digging trenches there? Italics, these are the horse's thoughts. The hurt in my side gets better when I run. Right a bit, the red bus is stopping, slow down. Did he race past the post and lose his way? Or jump a fence taken by a sudden derailing dream of the sea? Or sugarcane fields or some lost farm to which his kind returns, ruled by a needle in that great passionate head, fixed on whom and damn? Some of us in the quiet that follows thunder recall parades up Kambala Hill on Derby days, stakes lost and won in stately ways, viceregal horse winding in perfect clatter to Government House, past the towers of silence, up Walkeshwar Road. He followed the same route, my stallion, fleeing his mystery. Briefly, he seemed to lose touch with the road. Was it a trick of the setting sun that a wing appeared on each right shoulder, touching it with flight, that suddenly he was gone? It's a certain strength we own. It's a way we have lost. Bombay Walas, an exhibit of photographs by Kedaki Sheth. Will somebody blow a whistle or crack a gun or a whip when it's 10 minutes? Bombay Walas, an exhibit of photographs by Kedaki Sheth. Nowhere is ever home, but this may be the town of least effort for me. Here the idiom is known. Saris curdle over haunch like nowhere else. Lust kindles in the silver dark at the starlet's launch. And hot from home, tin lunches clatter out under a Gothic arch. 7 islands soaked up the sea and leave land for an infanta's dowry. Over 200 years and more, the tides have swept the world ashore. The taut air teems, above water curves from slum to dream, losing an arrow's flight. On the walls, our blood spills black and white. Witness to a demolition, Bombay. You will ride your scooter through the rubble as my household falls, urchin from Garhwal, lurching around the plot between income tax and unit trust. Your father and the builders are to mind each other till the new floors rise and the small consultancies bustle in. I hear that the Semi-Precious Stones Association has already booked a floor. Power and nostalgia built Gothic bungalows here. Colonels pebbled the shore with their teak floors for polkas and gardens honeying the sun. Outside my home, the city slowly hardens. Hawkers charged shrewd prices at the garbage killing. Finally, the bungalow and days of tennis on the lawn were beaten, and now must go. What has she done that makes her everything she is? A lady who lives upstairs, deaf from the quiet of her hills and the roar of our street. The house was her childhood. She is now its infirmity. When demolition starts, there will be the gap in our history. Her ambassador died on a hillside in her arms. The pile driving began in her infancy. Part 2. I saw an eagle on the lawn last week, fierce-eyed but feeble. What spat him from the predatory blue of birds and folded his wings that with special soaring? Beak and talon turned sympathy away, but also the crows impatiently hungry in a peepal tree. Seigneurial, he roamed famished near our clink of plates. Once he tried to fly, but ended hanging upside down on a low branch. He fell amid a din of birds. This morning we got up to find he must have dreamed of his high ancestral circling, distracted briefly in the open. The crowds, the crows, had seen and pounced. Goa, old Bardev's house. Have I 10 minutes? Old Bardev's house, where coconuts fell minutely counted. Cool in the height of my house, dear fat stones, red marrow built wide as a man's breath against the wars of those days, assault by burning brand and hoof. Now you shield against the torching sun and the pile drivers' thunder. Everything your age is slipping to sleep in the dust of our neighborhood. We are left your postcards smelling of an old lady's lace. In the front quintal, a date palm grows, its bronzed and wanton fruit secret with sweetness. The coconut harvest yielded a fine ancestor strain. A journalist's grandfather was jailed for his pains. An export cousin became le jeune savant portugais. Quadrilles were gravely danced before the Monday, uncle's flourishing hankies. Now, through the floors of broken china, roots of some undiscovered tree ride up. The shell panes carved from Baka smudge inside the casements of Westlight. Over the mute well water, a wing of something large begins to close out the sun. Courage at the Fort Aguada. The tinted window improves my sea and air conditions the sun for me. I notice that the hour and tide have made the morning fine outside for all the bodies, burnished bronze, lunging in the pool. I shall be sportive in the cool, sipping rum with lime, a sheltered furlong from the lawns, reading last week's Time. I think that's the
Good afternoon. My name is Angelica Freitas. I'm a poet from Brazil, which means I write in Portuguese. How many of you speak or understand Portuguese here? You? You said it, right? Okay. I'm going to read a few poems from my first book, and it's also my first book translated into English. I would really like to read the poems in Portuguese, and then after reading them, I'll read the translations, which were made by an American poet called Hilary Kaplan. The poems are from this book titled Hilkeshake, It's a Pun on Milkshake. It's a long story why I chose this title, but just to sum things up, it's really got to do with the fact that I don't believe in a division between high and low culture. That's nonsense to me. So Helke was a Czech poet who wrote in German, and I'm sure you all know what milkshake is. So yeah, I've tried to mix things together in this book. So I'm gonna read the first poem of the book, and in Portuguese it goes like this. Dentadura perfeita, ouve-me bem, não chegarás a lugar algum. São tomates e cebolas que nos sustentam, e ervilhas e cenouras, dentadura perfeita. Ah, sim, Shakespeare é muito bom. Mas e beterrabas, chicória e agrião? E arroz, couve e feijão? Dentinhos lindos, o boi que comes, ontem pastava no campo, e te queixaste que a carne estava dura demais. Dura demais é a vida, dentadura perfeita. Mas come tudo o que puderes, e esquece este papo e me enfia os talheres. In English now. Perfect teeth, listen up. You're not going to get anywhere. Tomatoes and onions sustain us, and peas and carrots, perfect teeth. Ah yes, Shakespeare is very nice, but beets, chicory, and watercress, and rice and beans, and collard greens? Lovely little teeth, the bull you're eating just yesterday was chomping in the field, and you complained that the meat was tough. Live stuff, perfect teeth. But eat all you can, and forget this chat, and begin. This book is mainly about culture, but one of the subjects that interests me the most as a writer is women. In fact, my second book of poems is called Útero é do tamanho de punho, which in English would be a uterus is the size of a fist, and it's basically just poems about women, and my translator is currently working on them. But this poem has to do with gender as well, and it's basically how nice it would be to have a little mustache. Ai, que bom seria ter bigodinho. Além das lentes dos óculos, ficar escondida por trás de uma taturana capilar. Bigodinho para poder estar. Bigodinho para sair à rua e ver o mundo, mas se esconder. Bigodinho para poder ser. Apêndice naso-bucal, buco-nasal, tipo chapéu. Ninguém te incomoda nos cafés, a beleza está nos olhos de quem não pode crer, e no fim do dia ainda ouvir obrigada, Senhor, ao entrar por último no elevador. In English then. How lovely it would be to have a little mustache. Just beyond the lenses of your glasses, to hide behind a fuzzy caterpillar. A little stash to let you be. A little stash to go out and see the world but not be seen. A little stash to be as you are. An appendage from nose to mouth, mouth to nose, chapeau-like. No one would bother you in cafes, for beauty is in the eye of the disbeliever, and to even hear at the end of the day, thank you, sir, as you enter last the elevator. I've written a poem about stealing books, which is something I could never really bring myself to do, although oftentimes I wanted to, but I just don't really have what it takes. So, but I wrote this poem, well, which is basically about it. Entro na livraria do bobo. Não tenho dinheiro e tampouco tenho talento para o crime. Desfilam ante meus olhos títulos maravilhosos, moribundos de tanto estar nas prateleiras. Roube-nos, dizem eles, não aguentamos mais ficar aqui na livraria do bobo. Quem acreditaria nesta versão dos fatos? Ajudem-me, maragatos, nesta hora afanérrima de uma libertadora paupérrima de livros. Retumba meu coração, retumba mais que a bateria do salgueiro. Treme o corpo por inteiro e as mãos já suam em bicas. Ganho a rua, as mãos vazias e os livros gritam maricas. There's just two things I have to explain. I forgot that I have to explain about these books. This poem, which is, well, you all know we have Carnival in Brazil, right? It's a big thing. In Rio, we have these, what would you call them, like parades, samba parades, and then you have what they call the samba schools, and each of them have their own song, and it's a competition basically to see which is the best samba. And so Salgueiro is one of these samba groups. And Maragatos were a group of fighters for, well, it's a long story, but the independence of one of the state where I live in south of Brazil. So here we go. I entered the idiot's bookstore. I don't have any money, and I don't have an act for crime either. Lining up before my eyes, wonderful titles, moribund from sitting so long on the shelves. Steal us, they say. We can't stand it anymore in the idiot's bookstore. Who'd believe this version of the facts? Help me, Maragatos, in this most stolen hour of a destitute liberator of books. My heart pounds more than the Salgueiro drum line. My whole body shakes, and my hands sweat buckets. I reach the street, hands empty, and the books cry, Sissy. So one of my favorite authors is the American writer Gertrude Stein. And I wrote this poem for her. I couldn't really bring myself to writing a poem in the manner of Gertrude Stein, so I wrote a poem in which she is one of the characters. It's called In the Bathtub with Gertrude Stein. I'm going to read it in Portuguese first. Na banheira com Gertrude Stein. Gertrude Stein tem bundão, chega pra lá Gertrude Stein, e quando ela chega pra lá faz barulhão, como se alguém passasse pano molhado na pedaço enorme de edifício público. Gertrude Stein, daqui pra cá é você, o paninho de lavar atrás da orelha é todo seu, daqui pra cá sou eu, o patinho de borracha é meu, e assim ficamos satisfeitas. Mas Gertrude Stein é cabotina, acha graça em soltar pum debaixo d'água. Eu, hein, Gertrude Stein? Não é possível que alguém goste tanto de fazer bolha. E aí, com a banheira dela, puxa a rolha e me rouba a toalha, e sai correndo pelada, a bunda enorme descendo a escada, e ganhando as ruas de Saint-Germain-des-Prés. In the Bathtub with Gertrude Stein. Gertrude Stein has a big butt. Slide over, Gertrude Stein. And when she slides, it makes a great noise as though someone dragged a wet cloth across the huge glass window of a public building. Gertrude Stein, from here to there, it's you, the washcloth behind your ear is all yours. From here to there, it's me, the rubber duck is mine, Gertrude Stein, and thusly we're pleased. But Gertrude Stein, as a charlatan, thinks it's fine to let one loose under the water, eh, Gertrude Stein? It's impossible that anyone could so enjoy making bubbles. And because it's her tub, she pulls a plug and steals my towel and runs out stark naked, huge butt descending the staircase onto the streets of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. This last poem I'm going to read, I'm just going to read it in English because it's slightly longer. It's about the Little Mermaid. Not the Disney one, though. It's called Mermaid in Earnest. The cruelest part was that as beautiful as much as her features flaunted, a genetic pedigree of bona fide aristocracy, and her hands deftly wielded needlework and roast chickens, and her tresses attested to tortoise shell combs and splendid grooming, the fascination would always remain with the mermaid's tale. I won't repeat the story after Anderson and company. We all know the rough path. First, the impossible desire for the prince, dull and formal attire, then awareness of a powerful witchcraft. In exchange, she gives something up, her voice, her elastic hymen, her Club Med membership card. It is a difficult process. Feminine bipeds are fooling themselves, attributing to high heels the pain more properly ascribed to haughtiness, seeing as the mermaid treads on knives when she uses her feet. And who takes her seriously? The ending would be better if she regained her tail and never shaved again, instead of the elephant dancing in her head when she sees the prince, and the 36 fingers that sprouts when she offers her hand. Thank you.
I'm really happy to be here at GALF, and this is my first time. So whenever I'm reading at a place for the first time, I tend to read the same poems over and over again. But this time it's special because I'm with Mr. Da Cunha, who we have heard so much about. I've never had the pleasure of meeting him earlier. And Sampurna I know very well and admire her. And Angelica, it was such a pleasure hearing you in Portuguese and in translation. I'm born and brought up in Assam, which is a state in the northeastern part of India. I write in English, but I do incorporate a lot of my heritage from Assam, and I'm also a third generation Bengali. So there is Bengali and Assamese, and I have relatives who are Khasi and Bangladeshi Muslims and Hindus, and so it's like not one world, but it's like, you know, everybody trying to make little space for themselves in this little poetic cosmos. So, and I'm also reading this because I'm with Mr. Da Cunha, who is of a particular generation, and that generation means a lot to me because my parents are of partition generation, and everywhere I try to make a point to read this poem wherever possible, and I think people here would understand. This is dedicated to my father, who's no more, but I'm sure it'll relate to a lot of you here. It's called No Country, No Names. The young girl in a sari was off to the library, her hands clasping books. She didn't see the truck crawl up behind her, stuffed with soldiers wearing leafy helmets, false implants in the heart of that shell-shocked, macadamized Bengal town. Her face, a sorry storybook, quite a few pages torn, when they found her by a garbage dump, stared at by the ancient panhandler. The poor bastard refused arrest, shouted abuses, got suitably thrashed by the police. A young man had whispered the night before, "Show me your palm, the red henna peacock from the evening's merry festivities." And she read him a poem about crocodiles in snare until they fell asleep in each other's arms, dreaming. Dreaming there was a river, grass and flowers shrouding its banks, its depths unknown, but easy for the rebels who could swim the same night. Yahya Khan made quick plans to strike universities where students were dancing to songs of Tagore. That was a night when nervous sirens screamed on and on. His would-be bride was picked up and thrown, folding up maps that fool didn't show a country of hearts. He left. A peacock mourned for her and him. No country yet for them. Thank you. So from no country, because I live in imaginary places, and although of course I'm in the Indian nation state, but we writers and poets keep arguing where we actually inhabit, and those spaces are in our minds, in our hearts, and in reality. But since I'm from Assam, I'm going to read you an Assam-related poem, and this is called the Bihu Wasted Sister, and wasted here means waist, because we have the Bihu dance where you do a lot of move with, lurching the waist. So it's a song for the Bihu Wasted Sister. Sister, it's the day you know the earth's rising to touch your waist, your wasted smile. But where do you go, my dancers? Where the orchids bloom and cows bathe at dawn? When do they bloom? When do they bathe at dawn? That serpentine hair has seen nights that sighed for your lover who's gone to the camps of fatigue, wearing boot-trotting wilderness in his heart. Sister, show me your wrist, hand of silver. Oh, dancers, show me the moon-hung pendant of the libidinous neck. Show me that move. Strike those breasts out of sadness. Do. Sister, it's the day the paddy is washed before offering. Something about the flame trees tell us birds are still home. But it's also the news of someone missing, the brass plate of sesame candles courting ants. Another day at the post office, they know you now. Oh sister, your arrow shoot of eyes, your beetle leaf face, tell me, who will come and taste your love, your lilt, your innocent lust? So I'm going to read two or three more poems, time permitting. Nita will let me know. So I have moved from Assam to Delhi to place, and I have incidentally spent long hours in airports where I find it very comforting to write, despite all those announcements and the air trains flying overhead and the strangers being good and bad and ugly and everything to you. But it's a great experience. So I just scribbled those little poems on the back of the ticket, actually. So somehow one editor liked them and published them. So it's called, the poem's called Reverie in Flight, an airport poem. 1. Hey men with extra large pecs, when did you stop thinking? And then so many I see walking, tall sellers by their sides, tailed in black tapered coat and tinsel. Hey ladies in taffeta scarves and imaginary Britney behinds, when did you stop dreaming? 2. So the white guys are eyeing brown breads and a few babes bathed in vanilla and pine. The beauties are gasp gawking at the cosmopolitan, uninherited, seated, not greeted at all. Also, a few mustachioed men are copying the Al Pacino of a shattered mirror, waited upon by their battered suitcases. Also, their wives of wide margins, a little bristle, for they are unwhistled at. Ever, never. 3. Hey, grooved guys of lavender ties, when did you stop smiling? When was it stocks sailing for you, when not? Hey, soothsayers of nachos in melted cheddar, when did you stop testing if the dough was soft? if the dawn was green and doe meant only eyed? You have known tongues unknown, swear words, swords, you can flash and rest like journey folks. So, hey folks, hey fellows, hey goose, hey gander, when did you make stopping by us bruise, hermetic and cold? There's one poem also that I read almost everywhere because I kind of like reading it, like the sound of it and the reactions that I get while reading or later. This is after Wallace Stevenson's famous poem, and when I start reading, you'll know which one I'm talking about. I was at one point very heavily influenced by imagistic tradition. So, but this was just a play in words that we were trying to do. It's called 13 Ways of Looking at Your Hands. 13 Ways of Looking at Your Hands after Wallace Stevens. 1. When the evening came home, the hands were the only ones that lit the warmth. 2. This hand and the other, with two of mine, sometimes tell tales, sometimes muzzle them. 3. When the pink man rode the train, sitting a rhombus away from me, I thought I saw him with your hands. 4. The hands have held tomatoes, a few sprigs of fennel, my blunted chin, the pillow frills of our sleeps. Now they hold a memory bunch, handed down in never sound. 5. It was only in a dream about shopping counters that the hands were stitched onto another hand, shuffling plastics along my gliding arm. 6. There's a window with a tree with many hands that droop and call. There's a chair where I see and recall your dripping hands. 7. If I see the tabletop talking in a loud monotone, I'd say your hands are busy arranging themselves from the past to the front. 8. I have loved those green hands. I have lived without those serene hands. The vowels are now too drunk to get away. 9. In the paintings about life and little birds, your hands became the background, their unseen veins and fine skin layer. Now it's a downy rain through which the hands wipe my tears. 10. Oh, those hands still go mining into my woman pit, sweet jelly and warm on fingertips. Once up on my coffee breast, they mottle oh so fast. 11. Did I say your hands no embrace? Did I see them raise my hips in a better fricative push? I must have been lying, or writing poems. 12. It pisses me off to think this hand could look like a naked bird head in a fist holding a fork. Drop it. Lick those fingers. We won't talk Charles Simic over lunch. 13, and the last one. Are you saying it's all handheld? Coffee cup, steering wheel, cell phone, Billy Collins's fast ones, and the small of my back? Tell me another way I could talk about your hands as though they were blackbirds. Thank you.
I'll start with a poem which is a favorite of mine. I'd like to dedicate it to the people from Bombay who are here, among them Gerson and my ex-boss from HTA. I used to work in advertising, Ivan Arthur. This poem comes out of a particular moment in the year 2003, an epic moment as it happened for me, when the Rolling Stones played in Bombay at Brabant Stadium. I don't know if any of you were there. I was there in the front seats, standing, which meant standing, and there was this moment when Mick Jagger ran onto the ramp and shouted to this packed stadium, "Kasakai, Mumbai." And we all looked at each other, dazed and bemused, and said, is this really happening? And in that moment, much of the strangeness of Bombay came together. And here's the poem that I wrote to celebrate that strangeness. Dogs, Mobs and Rock Concerts, Bombay Diary, April 7, 2003. At 7 a.m. today, a pack of mad dogs rushed into a building and castrated a man. It happened too fast for the police to be called. or the BSPCA van to rush in and take the raving canines away. 5 dogs came, 6 left. At 12 noon today, a herd of hired goons drove up in a truck and threw flowers at a mob. The mob, which had assembled silently all morning, pulled the stalks out with their teeth and exploded in a fury of pamphlets. The pamphlets read, "Stay out, outsiders," and then sang themselves into a stupor. The hired goons were fired for failing to disperse the crowd. At 7 p.m. today, a stadium flung open its gates to the sky. The earth rocked and the people stoned. Enormous rubber lips turned electric blue with the sound on the ground, crushed between a dressed-down executive and a made-up mother of 2. An aging Indian singer shook his locks. In the champagne seats, the liquor baron bubbled tidily out of his tux. At 7:10, 12:22 and midnight, the city felt a tremor of longing. Strange things had happened and passed it by. Tomorrow, all that would mark the hours would be the trains. The 7:10, the 12:22, the midnight. Each rattling its chains, returning thousands to their cages till dawn. The next one is from my latest book, which is called Space Gulliver Chronicles of an Alien. I wrote that when I was in a residency in the University of Kent in Canterbury in 2012. I arrived there in February, very, very gloomy, dreary time, and I asked myself, what on earth brought me here? I've written all the previous 10 books sitting at home. Why did I have to exile myself to this country, no doubt familiar to me through its literature and previous visits, but to live here for 3 months in this horrible weather? And the person who saved me, this is going to sound slightly offbeat, is a character I had invented some years ago called Space Gulliver. Space Gulliver came, she stayed with me for 6 poems, she went away, that was the end of Space Gulliver, I thought. But in 2012 she came back like a revenant and became the way I could deal with those months there. Became my alter ego, the person to whom I could pass on my anxieties, my angst, my alienation, became the person through whom I could speak fictionally, and became the central character in a sequence, a book-length sequence of poems. Now, as it happens, as you start living in a place and getting used to it, you get comfortable, and at one point, Space Gulliver, as happens to the best of us, fell in love. Space Gulliver has fallen in love. The ultra-shine quality in magic quantum is what she has fallen in love with. Disquisition, she feels like telling someone tugging at their sleeve, that's the word I've fallen in love with. Is that an ocelot or an eye? Is that an anoa? Genie, you old world carnivore. Go, Anna, you lizard. Space Gulliver is experiencing delirium, like the weightlessness she was once addicted to. It is only at the beginning of falling that you experience delirium, she tells herself with the sternness of the autodidact. When the ultra-shine quality of magic quantum illuminates the mass that is moving towards you at the speed of light, of thunder, of fallen lightning, that's when space vanishes. He might have been wearing her 7 leaguers, the way his strides swallowed the earth, the sky, the gulf between them, which an instant ago was solid, carpeted, held down by humans and table legs, chairs holding bodies. not astral, not remotely luminous, until this happened, this magic shine of ultra-quantum, hyperbolic parabola, the path you took towards me. Never reduce me to me again. Space Gulliver chastises him with a joy she might have considered unbecoming in someone of her age and gravity, if it weren't for curve, points, equidistance, wonders that make her shine like the quality of magic. This quantum ultravenously surrounding her with its smell of sky. This is heaven, then, Space Gulliver thinks, as she wears his scent left lightly on her breast and moves through the minutes at a very secret gallop. This disappearance of place. An elephant on one finger, a serpent around the other. In this paradise, the serpent is beautiful, wise as the elephant is strong. In this space, beyond space, which is heaven, each animal sounds like its name. So you can recognize it, though you have never seen it before. The Kolo Kolo, a South American wildcat. The Commando, a Hungarian dog. The book at your doorstep in the middle of the night, in the middle of your rumpled room, a manual of Tibetan grammar. The Xenopus, an African frog. The bulbul, a Persian bird. Tahir, your wildness, your long torso, your short, stout, recurving hands. Tamarin, your silky hair. If all these names exist, then why not love? And I'll end with a very short poem because I can see people fleeing for the next. This is the misery that the last speaker on the panel has to be subjected to. Thank you very much to those who have remained in the room. Do I have a minute or do I have a few seconds because I've only read 2 poems? I'll end with a poem on storytelling, because yesterday something interesting that came up was about the need for story, about the need for multiple stories. Storytelling. Cupped around the flame tree listening, a conch perched hard against your mother-of-pearl lips, calling to arms the long-lost notes of remembering. A turned-up lamp, smoking soot against the glass, your soot-black eyes greedy and intent as mine. A mat on a cool floor, the slide of rattan striping your thigh into patterns the color of flesh. A cloth sheet strung tight against the dark, whispering with moths come to learn the flicker of light. Many facts unwritten, told in many tongues. Why not storytelling? Why not the urgent hush, the sacred words, the spool of silence, raveling? I have been granted the elephant's memory. I could count and recount the ways in which a poem turns slowly into the story I wasn't writing, was always writing, into the sharp, clear sound of morning, ancestral and strong. And as I said in a very short poem written after I drove through South India, it's called National Highway 18, and the poem goes like this: the road runs on, it is you who must learn to stop. Thank you.